Oh gosh. So here I am on day 5, and once again I came to my desk and felt the sense of emptiness, as in not the emptiness of, enlightenment, but the emptiness of not really having something to talk about. And then, as I just sat still, closed my eyes, and just allowed myself to be in my body, slowly things started percolating. And one of the things that came up, and something that I have thought about in the past, is about people who say sorry. I know people who say sorry about the most inconsequential things, and they apologize so profusely about the most inconsequential things, like, oh, I'm sorry, I prepared this dessert. I didn't realize you didn't like pistachios. Or and they go on and on and on and on and on about it. Or, oh, I didn't know that you were going to be there. I would have made an effort to come and meet you there. I really didn't know. And the fact of the matter is, you may never have even told them that you were going to be there. You were never expecting to see them. So why are they, feeling or expressing such an apology over something that they were never meant to, have anything to do with, let alone be responsible for, or, be saddled with a sense of, failure and regret and so on and so forth. I mean, why on earth? And yet, over these, what I consider inconsequential things, there will be endless and profuse apology. But when it comes to the things that really do matter, like when they have actually, expressed a meanness, whether in words or behavior, whether they, over things like not being there for you when you so urgently or desperately needed help, those things they never apologize for. And don't get me wrong, I am not suggesting that people should be at our beck and call, or that people should feel responsible for our well-being. I don't expect that. I mean, any more than I think we should all feel responsible for each other, insofar as it would be good if we all cared about the well-being of each other, just generally and universally. We may not often be able to do anything obvious or tangible about it, but I think we can certainly, it is in our nature to care for one another. That's not what I'm talking about here. I mean, that is a general and universal sense of well-being that I think we all have, whether we honor it or not, whether we pay attention to it or not. But when it comes to things, explicit things that we know, we we could reasonably be expected to do and we don't, or things that we could reasonably be expected not to do, like say hurtful things or do hurtful things. And when we know that we have done that, an apology is something that would happen quite naturally too. I imagine that it is in our nature to sincerely regret that, whether intentionally or unintentionally, we said and did something that was hurtful or mean or callous or uncaring. I know this is a very it's not a topic that can be dealt with in a couple of minutes, but I just want to bring it up here because I want to say that there are some people who know how to say sorry, in a sense, and yet they choose to say sorry over the most trivial, inconsequential things, and not say sorry about the things that really matter, the things that really are at play in a very significant way in our relationships. And in some way that also reminds me, it leads to this other, it broadens into this other area, and that is, I can't help feeling that increasingly we live in a world where we are, expected, we are being trained, in fact, to refute what we are seeing and hearing with our own eyes and ears. It's like we're being gaslit. And I mention this because in relation to the people who, are selectively apologetic, it's almost as if they're gaslighting us when they don't admit to things that are so obvious, that are so obviously unkind or untrue, and they don't admit to that. And again, I know, this is a topic that we can have a really deep and long conversation about, because, you could, and I would argue, that being honest and being sincere doesn't necessarily mean saying everything that we know, divulging everything that we know, whether about ourselves or about a situation. No, it doesn't mean that, but it does mean that about the things that we know impact a relationship, we should yeah, another thing that I don't want to subscribe to, but it would be good, let me put it like that, it would be good if we could be sincere and apologize for those things that we know impact relationships, because I think, without that, trust is lost, and how can you have a good relationship if there isn't trust? Anyway, I think I have perhaps said too much for a short video. If you happen to be watching this, and it triggers, in a good way I hope, something that, causes you to reflect on things and maybe, remind you of things that relate to this topic or anything else for that matter, do feel free to share your thoughts and your feelings. Feel free to disagree with me. It's a conversation. It's a meeting of ideas, a meeting of feelings. And I would appreciate that greatly. And in the meantime, wherever you are, and whatever time of day or night it is for you, I hope you enjoy great peace. Bye for now.